Jordan Peterson, Rob, if you got this clip, I just want to get your reaction to it. Jordan Peterson, over the last 10 years, has gotten billions of views online. He's one of the most watched influencers. He'll put events together. Thousands of people will show up and pay to watch this man speak. He's had a lot of influence over young men. Wrote 12 Rules for Life that sold millions on top of millions of copies. Has been very successful. Made a lot of money. But they do this Jubilee thing that he sits down with this other young man. And, you know, look, kudos to anybody that goes here because you're being targeted by 20 people that are all been researching to put you in your place and have an opportunity for a video like this that we don't know who you are, and all the eyeballs come and you get a bunch of attention, right? Here's him and Jordan Peterson.
Wow.
What do you think about that?
I mean, if I'm being real, I'm really disappointed. We got a guy who's helped millions to see value and order, discipline, family, tradition, and then you pull back on the one foundation that you come from, okay? He's lectured on biblical stories like he's Moses, and then the guy just asks you, are you a Christian? I don't care, Catholic, Protestant, are you a Christian? Because you've been claiming and you're preaching it that you are. Why have that moment? What are you scared of? Why? So now you've confused the shit. Tommy, am I, you know what I mean? You can't talk about the power of the Bible and logos and Christianity and Jesus Christ and claim all this. And then when the moment happens, and I think that kid, whoever this kid is, won this freaking debate to where you have to say, I don't want to talk to you anymore. You lose it right there. Why don't you say that you're a Christian? What are you scared of?
Well, what's funny is because originally when they uploaded this video on Jubilee, the title was One Christian versus 20 Atheists. Then they changed the title to Jordan Peterson versus 20 Atheists. Did you get that?
Yeah.
Okay. So you want me to say that one more time? So originally it was One Christian, which is who? Jordan Peterson versus 20 Atheists. And then they changed it to Jordan Peterson versus 20 Atheists because he said, how do you know if I'm a Christian?
Wow.
I mean, that change took place. But Adam, how did you see this between Jordan Peterson and this young kid?
Yeah, only in the modern day of the internet and sound bites can a kid who's likely done nothing with his life, probably in college so far, come in and own one of the greatest philosophers, speakers, doctors of our time, Jordan Peterson. Now, Jordan Peterson probably should have had a better answer. I don't know his religion. It's not for me to comment on. He is who he is. But this kid has gone famous now for owning Jordan Peterson. I would have loved to seen the rest of the discussion. I would love to see if there was any productivity of having a conversation like this. But for Jordan Peterson's, his entire career to be, stompled on by this kid who just wants to basically dunk on Jordan Peterson and say, you stand for nothing, or whatever he said, is just sort of testament to where we're living today, where a kid can go famous and viral for basically dunking on a great thinker when a great thinker doesn't necessarily want to argue with a meaningless child.
But you're assuming it, Adam, because Jesus Christ didn't mince words. In Matthew, chapter 10, verse 33, he said, but whoever denies me before men will also deny him before my Father who is in heaven. It's not a riddle. It's a line in the sand. You can't play neutral when it comes to Christ. And I don't care what moment he's having or how philosophical. And yes, he's a great mind. But Jesus Christ didn't suffer and die so we could treat faith like a philosophy class. Because that's not how it is, Adam. Either you're all in or you're one of these sideline poop talkers. And I'm just not a fan of it.
Tom, your thoughts?
I don't understand the premise. Is if he's not a Christian, then he doesn't have to.
He is a Christian. But when you're on the spot and you're saying it, why not say it? He said.
Tom, your thoughts?
He should answer.
So I think Jordan Peterson missed a wonderful opportunity because, what's interesting is if you're going to do a debate with people on anything, right? Anything. Baseball people 10 years ago debating about designated hitters, should it be in both leagues? If you go into a debate on anything at all and you hit the other person on the head, you're going to get nowhere. And when sharing about faith and when talking about faith, he missed an opportunity because this young man told him what he was thinking. He said, aren't you concerned with, are you familiar with some of the doctrines of Catholicism? And all you have to say is, yes, I'm a Christian, and I understand the teachings of Jesus Christ, and I know why I believe them. Can you share with me what your foundation is and why you believe that. That's a non-offensive question, asking the other person to level set. And then you can walk into apologetics and talk about the very beautiful message that is present. And there are many examples given in the Bible of how to debate this. Paul, the Apostle Paul, went to Rome, and when he was in Rome, he walked around and he found an altar, and it was the Romans at that age were very superstitious. They had Roman gods for everything, and they had gods for why there was thunder and why there was rain and all kinds of other things. And he comes up to them, and because they're superstitious, maybe they missed one, they had the thing that said an altar to the unknown God. Mm-hmm. So they're saying, and just in case we missed one, we don't want you to be upset. Here's your altar, and here's where we are. And he said, might I tell you about one you don't know? And the people were curious, and they engaged in debate, and they said many understood and believed. So when you have an opportunity like this, I think Jordan Peterson missed the boat. What is the problem in saying, yes, I'm a Christian, and here's why I believe what I believe. I'm interested in you. Why do you believe what you believe? Let's talk through a couple of these things. Instead, you set it all up, and the curiosity I had was it set up as a kind of an internet debate roundtable to get sparks and to bring on views. I don't know what the premise of it was. I'm not the producer, and I haven't really studied it, but this could have been done so much better for the benefit of the young man that was sitting there, so that he could have understood.
Yeah, I have a different opinion. I mean, what did he do most of his career? He did what? He was a professor. He was a teacher. And what kind of people did he deal with? Exactly like that kid. Think about what he taught. He dealt with kids like that. And he's probably sitting there profiling this kid and is like, dude, what are you talking about? You know how many tens of thousands of conversations I've had with someone like you? However, if you got a position, take the position. Rob, is this another one clip that happened from the same episode?
Yeah, from the same Jubilee.
Okay, let's watch this one here.
God.
Can you go back a little bit? We didn't hear the first part.
So wait a minute. The kid is making a point, Pat, by saying, let's say you were a German person in Germany during Nazi Germany, and you're harboring a Jewish family to save them. That's a very hypothetical. But Jordan Peterson's argument is, I would never put myself in that situation. No, he's missing the point completely. He's saying, what if you were that German family? If he's not making any sense in that argument.
Tom, did you understand the argument he was making?
Yeah, what the kid was trying to do was basically called the sin entrapment. And he's trying to get him to admit that he would lie. And he said, so lying is a sin, so you have to lie to do this or that. Whereas you're talking about being faced with great evil. And if you read in the Old Testament, there is an example of a woman who lied to Pharaoh's hitmen and sent them off in the wrong direction so that other people could proceed on God's mission over here. And so would I have lied about people being in the attic? Yeah, you have Schindler and you have Anne Frank, and you have all the stories of everything, what happened over there. And the kid was, I feel like, trying to put this in a corner, but then Jordan Peterson was almost kind of losing his composure and losing his patience. And I kind of agree with what you said a few minutes ago, Pat. It's like, you are example number 6, and I have seen so many of you kids who are example number 6, and I'm not even going to listen to it. No, you know what? There's a great verse in the Bible, and it says how Jesus put his hand on a man, and it said Jesus sighed because he was tired. But you know what he did that day? He still did what he was intended to do, and he healed the guy. But it said he sighed, and you could just see him going, be healed. It means he was tired, and there's a lot going on in life. And what I think's going on there, it appeared that Jordan Peterson was out of patience. You kind of lost his composure a little bit. And at a time where you really need to call on the peace of God so that you can present these things to people who are doubters and see if you can win, not win a point. It's not about winning or losing, but maybe bring them to a level of understanding or bring something forward to them, because they came in armed to kind of point you in one or two directions. And guess what? That's fine.
Adam, your thoughts?
So, Jordan Peterson, this moral question of whether you should lie to save a life, whether you're in Nazi Germany or whether you're in modern day America, preserving life and saving a life overrides all other perceived sins by far. So to me, it's not even a question. Yes, you lie, cheat, and steal to save your kid's life, to save your wife's life, to save your own life. It's a non-starter for me. Yes, you lie in that case. Just like Oskar Schindler lied thousands of times to save thousands of lives. It's a non-question to me.
But what, Adam?
As far
I'm sorry.
as far as what Jordan Peterson is doing, I don't know if this is a good look for him or a bad look. I think it's an obvious bad look for someone who's basically made a name for himself over decades to basically be dismantled by a group of young, pompous, freaking atheists. Cool. But then on the bright side, there's going to be an entire new audience of teenagers and 20-somethings who go, who is this guy, Jordan Peterson? And they're going to find out about his books, and they're going to find about his speeches. They're going to find out about what he believes. So he's almost needs to, in my humble opinion, reinvent himself for the modern Gen Z culture. Because everyone who is in their 30s and above has heard of Jordan Peterson, in my perception. So Jordan is a very smart but also emotional man. I've seen him cry on camera too many times to mention. PBD, I know you've had an experience with this. So I don't know what he's dealing with right now, but he's one of the greats. He's one of the GOATs, especially in the modern internet podcast culture. And I wish him the best.
But the question was, Adam, twice. And yes, these are atheists. And number one, you know what you're getting into. You don't go to a wedgie contest and then you get a wedgie and you're like, what the hell's going on? He's going to a debate with atheists. And if you're going to claim you're a Christian, he'll say things like, I act as if God exists. I'm afraid he might exist. That's not a confession of faith. That's a hedge bet. And I'm sorry, I'm not trying to be preacher guy. You know what I mean? I'm not talking the talk. I'm walking the walk. And I'm trying to live that life. And I'm trying to be a better person. If you're going to be that guy, say it. Admit it. Okay? I'm a Christian, and that's it, Tom. There's no ifs, ands, or what's about it. I'm not as knowledgeable as you. I'm not as smart and philosophical as Jordan Peterson. But Adam, this isn't a sideline thing, bro. When it comes to Christ, you're either all in if you believe in Him and you are a Christian. Either you're all in or you're not. There's none of this. Oh well, these people, I'm gonna hang out with them. I'm gonna be over here. No, I don't. It's not it, Pat. What do you think?
Yeah, no. To me, he looks upset. He looks agitated. He looks annoyed. And by the way, happens to many of us when you're sitting in a place like that. And, you're not going to be a robot. Even when Trump was asking the question, saying, "Hey, so what are you going to be doing if Putin doesn't listen? You think I'm going to tell you? You think I'm going to tell you fake news? Nobody hears a machine and a robot. However, in a situation like that, when you're sitting with someone in your mind trying to debate an atheist, like I don't know how long it's going to take for this guy to realize it, because typically a faith is a experience of life, some things happening to you and going through a journey. I mean, you saw a story recently that talks about Joe Rogan's been going to church.
Oh, beautiful.
What do you mean Joe Rogan's been going to church? Yeah, Joe Rogan's been going to church. I think this happened after, Wes Huff, you were telling me yesterday with ex-atheist. Joe Rogan makes major life changes after revelations on podcast sparks resurgence of Christianity. How did that happen? Did that happen accidentally? Did that happen to a 22-year-old man? You think Joe's had a lot of deep conversations with a lot of powerful people around the world and met a lot of weird people? You think the best podcast Joe Rogan's ever done are the podcasts that you've seen on Spotify or Apple or YouTube? No, the best podcasts Joe Rogan's ever done were never recorded, were never televised, were never put on a outfit. You don't think he's had enough people that are on the atheist side try to convince him otherwise? Why is he not looking at it at this age? He's had the most money he's ever had. It's not like he is, going through something. He's famous. He's got money. His family. Everything's good. And you're going through that. So this process of a person thinking they know it all when they're 23 years old, coming out of college, getting a tattoo that says whatever on it with the little, I don't know if you saw that little fatty that had a tattoo there. You see these types of things that happen. And then you're like, you know what? One day I'm going to grow out of it. I'll never forget. I'm at my Army unit. I'm there at the tattoo shop about to get a tattoo of a cobra on my chest.
Yes.
And I'm like, man, I want to get this cobra. Why do you want to get a cobra? Because my unit at 228 Fort Jackson was called the Cobras. And it's like, it's going to cost you $200. I'm like, dude, I only got 80. I can't do it. You realize if I had an additional $120, I would have had a cobra tattooed on my chest.
That would have been sick, Pat.
That would have not been sick. I would have been sitting here explaining myself why.
I would have slithered at you.
Yeah, but you know what the moral of the story is? When you're young, you do some dumb shit, and you think you know it all.
Yeah.
And sometimes it takes life to really beat the living crap out of you to grow up and say, maybe I got to start looking at some of this stuff. Maybe I have to realize that, how did this kid happen? This is a full-on miracle. Go watch a couple deliveries and see what takes place and what God does. Go through life and experience some of the things. You realize, maybe I don't know it all, man. Maybe this, whole thing about, the only thing I know is that I know nothing. Like the more you're growing up, I think Socrates said that on his deathbed, if I'm not mistaken. We're all learning. We're all getting better, just like these 20 people, as well as Jordan Peterson. He's also going through it as well. And who knows what he's going through. But this definitely, when you do something like this, I don't know if losing your cool. By the way, you know how simple this could be? We had a rule in our office. Say you're giving a speech today to 50 people that are coming to us to do business with us. Say Adam's giving a speech. You know what the rule was?
What?
Whoever's the speaker that's speaking to guests and clients today, no one go tell him bad news before he hits the stage. We had a basic rule. Like, let's just say something very bad happened. It's like, don't go. Why'd you give him bad news?
Yeah, it ruins the flow.
And then he gets on stage and he's pissed off. Something bad could have happened literally 30 minutes before he went in there.
You're
That
right.
pissed him off,
You're
and
right.
mom called him, wife called him, somebody called him, and he got pissed off going in there like, what the fuck? What's up? And then he puts it on those people. No one knows. Anyways, you're a professional. You should be above it. Let's move to the next story. I think, Adam, you were going to ask something?
I just want to I know this will go real quick, but one of the greatest things PBD's ever done to me is say, Adam, get closer to God. And whatever religion you are, I love what you say about, getting married is hard. Not getting married is riskier, is harder. Not having kids is risky. Not having kids is riskier. Not following God is risky. Not believing in God is riskier. My question is this, because I've moved in this direction. I've seen Vinny move in this direction, and I know Tom has changed lives. For followers of Christ, my question is this. You remember when I went to the Jerusalem and I went to the Armenian church?
Yep.
And I sent you those videos, and then I got you the gifts from Jerusalem, from the Armenian church. It had me thinking. I said, man, all right, what's the difference between the Armenian church and the Vatican and the Roman Catholic Church and Eastern Orthodox? And I went to high school in Miami, and it was a Presbyterian high school. And then I have friends who are Mormon and Protestant, Evangelical, Lutheran, Methodist, Anglican. And these are just the names I'm thinking of. Jehovah's Witness. In Egypt, there's Coptic Christians, Anglican, Baptist. Isn't it all just you have to be a follower of Christ if you're a Christian? Why are there so many different sects to Christianity?
You're asking me the question?
I'm asking just the general question is, maybe Jordan Peterson isn't a quote-unquote Christian. He's just a believer in God. So that's my question to the group. What's the difference with all these religions, and does it have to be partitioned into all these different segments? Aren't you just supposed to be a follower of Christ? Isn't that the whole conversation?
I think now you're going to, we believe the baptism is under what we believe it's with the drop of the water. No, we believe it's this, and we believe it's these, changes that they make on small things that they add. Some of them have more rituals than others, and there's a very much of a high retention rate to a organization that causes their members to have rituals versus those who don't, because if it's rituals, you're thinking about it more than another faith is thinking about it. So the other faith that's not thinking about it, the other sect that's not thinking about it as much, they're not as disciplined. And if you notice Muslims, no matter what's going on, they're praying. Some of them are praying God knows how many times a day. That forces you to be more disciplined, to be thinking about your God, to be thinking about your faith. So that's a whole different topic.
Oh,
that's a 2-3 hour podcast that I don't
understand
think,
that.
Yeah, I don't think it's something we need to get into, but I think...
And I get that, but maybe that's what Jordan Peterson was thinking, is don't define me by a specific
I get that, but
label.
if you're sitting with that audience, you have to sit there and, let's just say if I sat down and there's 20 of the guys and we're talking business. Well, capitalism, all they care about is this. Have you ever started a business? I have. How many employees do you have? Tell me, who has ever quit on you, stolen from you? Nobody ever. You haven't ever built a business yet. You're small. So you're kind of going through that a moment of conversation versus who do you have a job? Yes. Who pays you? Boom. What company is it? Boom. Who was the founder? You think they lost? Let's go look them up right now. You think that person went through a divorce? You think that person went through some challenges? I think it's got to be that giving the perspective versus automatically jumping to conclusion, losing patience to now not allow them to be sitting there saying, wow, you know, what I like the way he handled me, that he got me to think about it. You know, it's like that one video. What is that one video we show where this man keeps going to this man that's talking about Jesus loves you. Shut the fuck up. Have you guys ever seen this clip?
With the black guy?
Yeah.
Homeless
Homeless guy. I think, did we show this on a podcast a couple weeks ago?
I don't
Rob,
remember.
did we show this on the podcast? Oh my God, you have to see this thing. Oh, I almost don't want to even show it because he's disrespecting him the entire time. Does he use some choice words, Vinny? I think he used some choice words.
He does a couple, but they might have bleeped it out. I'm helping to look. So yeah,
then all of a sudden, you see, he asks him, hey man, can I just pray for you? Can I just pray for you? You mind if I pray for you? Let me pray for you.
And it's silent.
And then eventually, the white man is probably in his mid-50s, the mid-40s. I don't know how old he is.
He looks a little bit younger.
You showed me this clip. If you can't find it, let me. Maybe Humberto's texting us saying that he found it. Let me see if that's the one that he's texting. No. If you find it, we'll show it. You text it to me somewhere, but it was great. Anyways, the moral of the story is, at the end of it, the guy says, can I just pray for you? And he says, you know what? I appreciate that. I appreciate the fact that you just dropped a prayer for me. It was a great exercise. Rob, can you show us the new gear we have with Valuetainment merch for those that go to the gym and work out? Go for it, Rob.
Yeah, I feel my
That's it.
Look at those legs, Pat.
You seeing that little wink at the end there? I
So
like
that
that.
sound else for you, baby.
All right.
The future looks strong and sweaty.
Go to vtmerch.com, place your order, get your gear, go to the gym, sport the future looks bright. And anybody that places an order, you get a I Love VT keychain being sent your way. If you enjoyed this video, you want to watch more videos like this, click here. And if you want to watch the entire podcast, click here.